Awesome.
Yeah. Good. Well, we have some folks joining now, so I think we can go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for coming to our webinar on preparing for the future of AI search. As an intro, I'm Tiffany. I run marketing for Mintlify, and I'll be the host today. And I'd love to give a quick intro of our guest speakers, our guest stars. So Han is our co-founder and CEO of Mintlify, an AI native documentation platform. Mintlify has helped lead the charge in making docs accessible for both people and LLMs. Josh is the lead AI strategist for Profound, which is an AI search optimization platform. He uses data proven strategies to help customers like Ramp, Indeed, MongoDB all increase their presence in AI search. So today is going to be a very natural conversation between Han and Josh. But as questions come up, please feel free to post them in the chat and I'll make sure they get answered. So we're going to kick it off with a question for Josh. We'd love to know, what do you think are the most common misconceptions about AI search?
Oh man, I think one of the most fun misconceptions right now in AI search is that people think that it's based only on the model training data. I can't tell you how many people I talk to on a day-by-day basis where they're like, yeah, I like this idea that like people are finding, the next, like their next vendor, or like a company, or even like their shoes through ChatGPT. But for our company, it doesn't really matter to influence it, because if you ask ChatGPT, it says, as of my last update in 2023, blah, 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 blah is the best shoe. The cool thing that we know, we have this huge, like humongous data set of like 177 million citations that I just constantly pull from. It's like my favorite data set right now. We know that right around 85 to 88% of all the queries across all the answer engines, but for ChatGPT, it's closer to 90% in specific, they're using the web retrieval mechanism of these answer engines. And so people come in thinking one thing about answer engine search, which is like, oh, you want to be in the training data. In reality, you want to actually be found by the browser element of the LLMs themselves. Like that's one of my favorite quick hit, like really interesting. People tend not to know that kind of insights.
Interesting. I have a really quick question on this, Josh. So you're saying like for ChatGPT, most of their insights, not from training data, it's from their own search tool that they're using, which I believe is powered by the Bing API. Is that correct?
Bingo. That's exactly right.
Yeah. And it differs depending on the different providers, right? Like, so Claude has their own, ChatGPT uses Bing. How have you seen like the differences in the way they search and the way they,
All right. Strap in for a second.
Claude, all right, I'm here. I'm ready.
Claude is crazy because Claude's using the Brave browser. Claude is partnered with Brave, and Claude doesn't do any augmentation of the ranked order list that Brave returns, which is interesting because the implication there is that if you're ranked 1, 2, or 3, so Claude basically pulls rank 1, 2, and 3 from Brave every single time without fail. We did this test across a few thousand prompts, and we're like, all right, Claude, go do this. We looked at the results from the Brave browser. We looked at the results that Claude cited, and it was literally 100.00% aligned with 1, 2, and 3. So being optimized for Brave browser is the secret way to get optimized for Claude. Very few people know that one.
Interesting.
ChatGPT is interesting right now. They're in a bit of a limbo in the AEO space because the Bing API is going to be deprecated in August of this year. And Bing let us know that one in June. So my thesis is I don't think many people besides OpenAI are using the Bing API all that much. But the question remains, will OpenAI plumb their search mechanisms right into the index they've been building for the last year and a half? They're building an index. They're scraping tons of sites. It's all over the news with Cloudflare and all that stuff. All of these bots, trying to block them. So will they move into the index with their own browser tool? Are they going to go to Azure Agents, which is the next best Bing tool, basically, or next best Microsoft tool, sorry. Or are they going to partner up with Google, which would be insane? I think that's crazy thesis. But the interesting thing with ChatGPT, to very crystalline kind of give you a beautiful answer to that, it basically takes the user's query, like all 7 paragraphs of the query, right? You tell the ChatGPT your whole life story. I want to do this. I want to try that. I want to go here. I want to do this. What's the best men's running shoe at the end of the day? ChatGPT will take that 7-paragraph query. It smushes it down into the regularized query, or like the actual query that it sends to the Bing API. So at that stage, when it basically reformats your query for optimal Bing API usage, you no longer own that query. So ChatGPT is like, thanks for that context, buddy. Here's what you're asking for. All right, Bing, find me this information. And then this technology that OpenAI trained in 2021 called WebGPT, which its only job is to look at lists of URLs, title tags, meta descriptions, and snippets from content and pick which piece of content has the most value, is actually the decision maker on whether or not you get cited. So it's literally, you want those 5 things to be perfect for ChatGPT pickup. And that's what I spend my time optimizing for, specifically within ChatGPT.
I see. That makes a ton of sense. I'm curious to so just to summarize, one of the most important thing that I just learned now was about how WebGPT needs, it summarizes a large content into smaller bite-sized pieces that then gets thrown into context for the LLMs themselves.
Exactly.
What does it mean to actually be optimizing for that? Because I was under the impression that they just dumped the entire article and all the DOM or something along those lines. But you're saying it's not really like that at all.
Yeah, there's 2 pillars. I'll give you a few tactics on each. So there's technical side optimizations you can make. So there's things like a really funny one right now is ChatGPT is always pushing towards freshness in the content that it pulls. So if you ask, hey, ChatGPT, what's the best men's running shoe? ChatGPT will take that query, and the actual query it'll send to Bing between 40 to 60% of the time will be 20, it'll include 2025. So it'll be best men's running shoe 2025. What we're seeing, hilariously enough, is that pages with 2025 in the URL, the title tag, the meta description, the first 200 characters of that actual web page get cited more often just by the virtue of having 2025 in the content. So there are little things like that are taking advantage of the model's architecture. But there's also bigger things about the fundamental way that these answer engines cite content. I talk about this, it's called semantic chunking. It's kind of a gross name. I don't really like the term chunking, but semantic chunking is basically the idea that these answer engines are going to pull full answer snippets out of any given piece of content. So they're not really looking to read all those tokens and waste all this energy trying to parse out a full piece of HTML. What they're really looking for is a cohesive answer. So if I ask what's the weather in San Jose right now? It's going to go to, weather.com, and it's going to pull some sort of static snippet. Again, that's going to be crucial. It's going to be static in the HTML, which is hard for people who do dynamic content in order to make it work. But let's just say it'll pull a static snippet from the HTML that says the weather in San Jose is X, Y, and Z. And it'll throw that right back to the user. If you, in other words, if you have a huge paragraph, super bad for LLM recall. If it's just this long meandering thing, because it's not easily identified and snippetified as the answer to the question at hand. So it's it's all about keeping your answers to chunks within the content.
Yeah, gotcha. That makes a ton of sense. When you think back to the people who then ask, it's hey, clearly, Geo's making a dent in the way in which people are getting content, in which people are getting answers, and we want to optimize for a little bit about that. We know our SEO playbook, but we don't really know what this is. What kind of stuff do you tell them to be okay, here's some of the bare minimum that you can do to kind of get listed a little better, get on the Brave browser, let's say, the top 3 results, or stuff like that you think goes a long way that most folks might not be, super familiar with?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a few things that go a long way right now, and a few of these things are SEO 1.0 plays. The funny thing is what's old is new, especially within AI search. One of the big things right now is schema.org markup. Having FAQ schema, how-to schema, product schema, basically making your web pages as richly descriptive and as contextually rich as possible for the answer engine who appears on that page as possible is going to be the name of the game. The answer engine wants to know what the purpose of that piece of content is. Another good thing is semantic URLs. So, if you're an answer engine and you're looking for the answer to the question, best men's running shoes, are you going to click on a website that just says, runningshoes.com/xg49f20091103, or are you going to click best-men's-running-shoes-2025? You're going to click on that article. And so in a very kind of philosophical sense, you're kind of marketing the cover to the book. There's 2 games that you play in the citation world. Game 1 is getting the click in the first place. Then the answer engine gets on the page. You're already now, you got its attention. Now you need to make sure the content on that page is actually readable and understandable. So things like JavaScript rendering, make sure you don't have JavaScript as much as you can. I mean, JavaScript's obviously unavoidable today, but a lot of these answer engines, if your site is massively client-side rendered, a lot of some news sites, we work with a few airlines where this is a real trick. If you're really changing that site dynamically and there's a lot of stuff going on, or maybe even just like learning paths and like academy pages, things like that, really hard to scrape those if things are dynamically changing. It's tricky. I think for certain elements, LMs.txt is also a huge piece of that pie.
Yeah, makes a ton of sense. And before we jump into LMs.txt, because we have a certain number, a lot of questions on this front, Josh, I'm curious. Wait, I just lost the question with me. Oh man. What percent? Just for context. Sorry, this is the question. Just for context, for folks, like I'm curious, like what percentage of, what's the real dent of like geo, and really like you're seeing AI getting answers instead of what it was before. Like just to put things into perspective, how has the real trend been for from your guys' end?
Like for the growth of AI engines or something else?
Exactly. Like basically, like what percentage of people do you think are, or a percentage of questions, if you will, very, very open-ended question, are
it depends on the way. Yeah. All right. So the AI bullish among us who count Google AI overviews and Google AI mode as legitimate answer engines would say that like roughly 1/5 of all questions are now arbitrated by AI. If you're very restrictive and you say, no, it must only be pure answer engines like your ChatGPTs and your Perplexities and your, not Google search experiences, I would say it's right around 7-6% of all questions. I mean, ChatGPT is now the 6th, bordering on 5th most fifth most visited site in the world. It's a huge source of truth. There's stats every week now that come out. It's like 90% of, Forrester released a stat a few months ago, 90% of B2B buyers now use AI search at some point in that buying journey. So the behavior and the modality, I think, is definitely shifting. The big deal for us is that like with the release of AI mode, Google has basically admitted that the future of search is in an AI arbitrated world, right? So everyone's trying AI in every single industry, AI. I think one of the places where we can agree AI is probably going to stick is that AI just genuinely adds value to the user search experience. So wherever that value is going to come from, our job is basically to trace that, whatever that experience looks like.
On the front of Google being bullish on that, there was that stat that Google search trends declined for the first time in 22 years. Things are changing. And you had mentioned, like, in some ways, old is new, of certain SEO principles are still true moving forward in this time of AEO, which is answer engine optimization for our audience. But what do you think are the most distinct differences where this was very true in SEO and now is very clearly not rewarded in the time of AEO?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about content utility, and SEOs hate when I say that, by the way. All the SEOs are like cringing right now because that's not measurable. That's just like that's like buzzword stuff, right? But the world is moving in a direction where these new challengers to Google don't have the same, they don't have PageRank, they don't have all of the beautiful systems that Google's built. And now you have these incumbents being disrupted in the search world by folks who are basically trying to remake the information economy. And what that basically results in is a world where these answer engines are using totally different signals to identify which sites are going to be most relevant. Like Perplexity, for God's sakes, they're using a vector database to basically embed documents and web pages uniquely and finding the highest cosine similarity across documents to show as citations. That has nothing to do with backlinks, domain ranks, or keywords. Like, the SEO systems are completely, defunct when you're looking at a search experience like that. When we're looking at something like ChatGPT, yes, it's based in Bing, but what we're seeing from WebGPT is that the alignment is it's in the low double digits. It's like 26% between ChatGPT and Google in terms of the actual sources that they choose, because that web GPT technology is going and it's going through the Bing results. And it's like, I like number 9, I like number 14, and I like number 23 out of these results. It's just like, it's like a kid like plucking flowers from like a meadow. It's like, I want that one, I want this one, I'll take that one. And so what you're really optimizing for is you're optimizing to provide comprehensive answers to questions, regardless of who you are. I've seen, disruptors take on incumbents with 10, 50x the market cap and beat them handedly in AI search with tactical content, like just directly answering questions key to the industry. It's literally insane how much it's getting disrupted.
Yeah, that seems really fascinating. So it's like almost like, in the past, again, on the AI like indexing side, in the past, you have to optimize for, read time, engagement time, all these things that Google cares about. But now it's like, really building for AI, Q&As work great. Long form content works great that people otherwise wouldn't find engaging content to actually read, and therefore Google wouldn't reward. As long as it makes it in some top results for, let's say, like Brave or Bing, it would then be able to get picked up by, these models, and then it would serve it to users.
Exactly.
Is that kind of,
yeah, it's exactly right. It's like, where's the goods? It's like, that's all the answer engines are saying. They're like, I don't really care who you are. Do you have the goods? If you don't have the goods, we're going to pass, even if you're Forbes.
Yeah. I saw somewhere that there was like a really interesting perspective on a lot of this stuff, which is that in this kind of rewiring of the internet and the rewiring of like engagement and search, one big thing that's changing is that the internet economy was, a lot of it was primarily built on ads, engagements, and people actually going to platforms to then view the content. And then now in the world of AI, it's like a lot of people are just going to ChatGPT and getting results from there. They're skipping, the landing page or the pages where they're serving ads. They're serving all the content directly. How have you seen that in from your guys' end in terms of like the impact companies have, or how they view this stuff? Because if you're getting an answer directly from ChatGPT on Forbes, or from let's say the New York Times or some other article that otherwise has ads that now just don't surface that at all, how does that change things?
Yeah, it's huge. It basically means the real importance shifts to visibility. It doesn't matter where you get it from.
Yeah.
Sometimes it does, though, if you want to own the narrative. Like, the first step really is becoming visible. What I'll do with brands is I will work with them to get, like, they'll go from like 2% visibility to 50% visibility, meaning they show up now in 50% of all answer engine searches, which is crazy, right? We can do that with affiliates. We can do it with social. And then the next step, inevitably, once you make them super visible, is like, oh, I see that we're like 50% visible, but we only own like 1% of all the citations. How do we bring all of that visibility in-house now that we have control over it, so we can understand how we can show the most accurate information, so we can talk about our products effectively, and so we can make sure everything is in line with our latest messaging, and people can find us even as we evolve? Because it's great to have that point in time piece, but things do shift. I think what we're really trying to measure for in AI search, because attribution is totally gone, like the user behavior is, you ask like, what's the best sports car that I can buy, right? Porsche's never going to know that you found out about the 2025 911 through ChatGPT. They're just never going to find that out unless you go onto Porsche and say, where did you hear about us? And then you click ChatGPT, which is one recommendation. Any brand, any person who's listening who has the power to change this, go onto your site and add ChatGPT as an option for where have you heard about us. You will be surprised. We've worked with customers that they're like, okay, we'll add it in. They come to us 2 or 3 weeks later and they're like, oh my goodness, somewhere between like 5 to 20% of all the people that are answering that now are just clicking ChatGPT. They're clicking like Google AI overviews. It's shocking how many people are actually, when prompted, say that they've done research around your product through those answer engines. But it would never show up in attribution.
Right. And Josh, how do you kind of see this trend happening? Like, do you think that, in the next few years, it'll start to gobble up until it's, let's say, half AI, half search, or maybe it all AI? Do you see a world in which like just getting a chat answer directly dominates, or do you think in the world where there's still going to be some use cases for search, some use cases for
I think it's I think it's going to be the inverse of what we see right now, which is like, I think real, like old school search is going to be something you have to like opt into. And the chat is going to be the same as old school search now. So when you go to Google, you'll immediately be chatting, or you'll at least immediately get an AI overview. And if you are like, no, show me the real deal, show me the actual blue links, you'll have to click in to be like, show me the proof, show me where you're getting this. I think search is like, we've validated it. It's like search is going to move towards AI. Like it's going to happen. Like AI mode with Google is not an experiment. It's like, it's not a niche piece of the Google search engine. They released it on the core platform in North America to all users. It's to test because it's going to be happening.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that speaks a lot to obviously the great stuff that you guys have done at Profound in terms of helping people identify these trends, then going in and actually helping brands actually surface better on chat as well. How have you guys seen, just as my personal curiosity, the differences between how you guys have thought about it versus some of the companies who've done SEO ranking and indexing, and trying to now figure this out, whereas you guys as Profound has been natively thinking about this since the earliest.
I mean, the paradigm of the keyword is like, it's like the last buffalo on the frontier. It is a dying breed, right? Like it's like the idea that like you can track a search across all the different intents, all the different contexts with a simple keyword like running shoes. It's an outdated concept. Searches are moving more long tail. People, I mean, search itself, the experience of search has always been a means to an end, and it was never able to get better than that. Search is now becoming like, if you look at how people use ChatGPT, search is the place where you get stuff done. It's like, I don't want to learn how to make a marketing plan. Just give me the marketing plan. Let's just do it. Let's just get this thing going. That shift in mindset, we would never have asked that from Google in the past. It would have been unthinkable to do that. That shift in mindset basically means that everything about the way we used to track information and how information moves is going to have to change, because rather than tracking the keyword, we need to track the actual, the job to be done, or like the intent of the user. What is the user looking to do? Where does this journey end up? Is it someone who wants to buy something right now? And how is that different than someone who's just exploring something for the very first time?
Yeah, makes sense. And Josh, I just have one last question on this, which is like regarding how you think a lot of these companies who are now building, AI, kind of as the first way of getting answers, like Perplexity, ChatGPT. I mean, they're all really converging to like, different variations of this, Perplexity being the more notable first one that did. How do you see the business model playing out and how people are going to be thinking about this differently? Because now it's not really just ads based as it was before. Or if it was, I know Perplexity runs ads at like this really unique way of just having incredible long tail, results. How do you see this, and how do you think this is going to change?
I mean, they've got to meet us halfway too, because if I'm a brand, I want to understand what I'm paying money to track. There has to be some sort of Search Console experience, or some sort of pane of glass into what they consider to be an intent or a query. Like if I have a 5-year-old, and my 5-year-old loves sour gummy worms, but we're doing a birthday party in 2 weeks, and all of his friends hate sour gummy worms, but he really wants the red ones. Like, is there somewhere I could buy like bulk red sour gummy worms for a party in New York in 2 weeks? What's the keyword? Like, what's the, whoa, like that's a lot of information. How do we start to think about how to break that down and make sense of it? I think at the end of the day, if we're going to be optimizing and we're going to be creating marketing plans around trying to make our brands more visible in AI search, and truly winning in these answer engines, we need a framework to understand how the answer engines decide how to flatten those queries. Like one thing right now that's obscured, that better not be in a year, is the query fan out. Like when a user asks this huge paragraph, if brands really want to market on these answer engines, the demand from brands should be, hey, tell us what that huge paragraph gets smushed into. Like what is the parent of all of these long tail queries that I can optimize for? When 38 people tell me their live stories, what are those 38 stories? And then why do they all equal men's running shoes cushioned for knee problems? Because I want to optimize for that. So I capture all 38 of those searches, right? So there's this world where like we have to get to a point where we have clarity on what these answer engines are doing. And the answer engines have to get to a point of clarity where they can start to quantify and group up what the searches are actually looking and feeling like. Transparently, I don't think they're at that level yet. So there's still work to be done, even with the foundational model folks who are doing some great work. But I don't think I don't know that they ever, besides Perplexity, I don't know that they ever went into this thinking they were building a search engine.
Yeah. Do you think that there's also going to be, in the future, a lot less of an importance on a training date or like training cut date? So instead of, let's say, the cutoff right now for any of the models being a few months back, in the future, once computer, these things are well optimized enough that all of these things really happen in real time, and that search is just baked as part of it, and that things are getting indexed in the same efficiency as Google does across the world right now, where it's basically instant.
Right. Like, tell me what you think, but like, I like the idea of like a small language model. I want to have like a language model that lives on my Apple Watch natively, where I can just be like, hey, Apple Watch, go do this thing, take care of this task, agentically run this, and do it without doing an API call. Just do it on my device or in my SUV or whatever I'm doing.
Right.
And do that with a very dumb LLM or a very dumb model, but hooked up to a very smart RAG methodology. Like, I think the LLM has been kind of overextended in its own practicality and application. Like, I don't want my LLM to tell me who the third premier of the Soviet Union was. I want my LLM to model the English language effectively and to show me results of answers that are happening from the internet, from real sources that I trust and I care about, right? I think we're going to see the rise of really exceptional, hyper efficient models. Like AI mode, for instance, is using like Gemini 2.5 fast. It's super fast. It's not the smartest model, but that's not really the point. It's super cheap and it answers all the questions because it's plugged right into Google. I think that kind of modality is definitely the future. Like GPT-5 is going to be a wonderful research product. Whatever they're doing, like GPT 4.5 too, great for researchers, humongoid models, right? But I think the war over, the billions of parameters, I think that's going to kind of move away as we start to think about the practical applications of LLMs in everyday society.
Right. It's more about giving LLMs the right tools to then actually go and do things. And it has an intelligence. It's like, it's smart enough to do the thing. Now,
yeah, you agree, right?
Well, honestly, I haven't thought about this enough to have a well-informed opinion. I mean, honestly, it's really interesting to see how quickly it evolved too. Just for me to, extrapolate that there's probably going to be some trend of, I feel like a model where it is just really quickly an index, and hey, maybe who knows? Maybe it's just this similar results, but a little bit faster. Maybe it's actually not viable because, too much context might be bad. Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't even pretend to make guesses at this point on, on the way these things are going to go, even like a month or two from now. But going back into, the monetization piece, I'm actually really curious. Do you see a world in which ChatGPT has an ads business, or these kind of models or these AI? Like, what if, for some reason, Sam Altman's like, hey, we got to go gung ho. We got to make all the money in the world. Let's have advertisers spend money to then make sure that it gets showed up on, let's say, the top 3 Bing search results or the top 3 Brave search results. And then that is become context as, in these LLMs as they surface answers. Do you think that's going to be something that's going to be happening?
I think there will likely be an ads experience or a paid experience for sure. I wonder how heavily they're going to, I know they're releasing that browser. I wonder how built out that browser is going to be. And I wonder if there's going to be a paid experience in that. I doubt it. I severely doubt it. But I think it really depends how heavily they lean into that experience. I think, frankly, I have conflicting opinions. Opinion one is it is inevitable that the pressure on OpenAI, the pressure from brands, the pressure from almost everyone in the information economy to get in on the searches that are happening there as a legitimate channel for influence and discussion and products and commerce even is overwhelming. And OpenAI is shifting their business model. Like, fundamentally, OpenAI is not the same company it was in 2021. It's just not, right? I think the other piece is that, like, OpenAI right now owns one of the most trusted channels of information, which it probably, like, OpenAI doesn't want to own a trusted channel of information either. They're like, please don't trust the model. Like, please.
Yeah.
Consistently, folks, obviously, it's a very truthy system. It's a system that, instills confidence in the searcher. It instills a sense of having explored something. There's a massive psychological benefit to the product niche that OpenAI is building out with the ChatGPT product and the line of products they're building. Same thing with Perplexity, right? Try as they might to, add disclaimers, and those models are getting more consistent anyway. The actual experience here, I'm sorry, I think someone's coming into our room here. The actual experience here is that, despite having something so truthy, I think eventually they will make that pivot, but I wouldn't do it yet. I think there's this beautiful thing where they own what is to most people true when they do a search into ChatGPT. They find that information and they take it and then they purchase something because they feel that ChatGPT is uninfluenced, even though to a massive extent it is influenced.
Yeah, makes a ton of sense. I think we have a question in the comments.
Amazing.
About, so I'm just going to read it out loud, and then Josh, you and I can take time to go and answer it. So hey guys, sorry I joined a little late. Can you guys share a little your thoughts on how Perplexity is trying to make an AI first browser? How will ads be served if all the big LLM providers have their own browsers maybe? Ooh. Josh, what do you think?
I think Perplexity is always the canary in the coal mine for this stuff though also. Like Perplexity was the first to shopping. They were the first to customize like a custom index. They were the first ones really to even like mainstream real-time browsing with an LLM plugged right into that system. ChatGPT followed shortly, like a few weeks after, but like Perplexity staked their ground really easy and really directly. I think I can't say, it will only be speculation if I say there will be ads or there won't be ads in the Perplexity browser. I think it'll be interesting to see how the search world shakes out, because if I'm Google right now, I'm kicking myself for not getting everyone onto the Google index immediately once these players started opening up. Now I want everyone in my space so that I can still, as Google, claim I own what's searched. My index is still the big index. The fact that you're seeing this fragmentation is crazy, and it's unprecedented in search. Ever since 1998, basically, when Google came into vogue and really started taking over. I think in the long run, there will be ads in LLMs. I think in the long run, for many of these LLM experiences, there will be opportunities to have paid positions either in a browser or outside of the browser.
Yeah. Have you tried the new Perplexity browser yet?
I haven't had a chance yet. Have you?
I did actually, very briefly.
All right, wait, let's hear it. What do you think?
Honestly, I didn't really like it that much personally. Okay. Because I thought it's the way it felt like to me was just trying to, get you to use Perplexity more. I felt like it wasn't much of a, there's some brilliant folks at Perplexity, and I'm sure there's some strategy to exactly why they decided to go build a Chromium fork where, this stuff is not trivial. But I feel like if I was to map this to Google's strategy of building Chrome as a browser, it's kind of simple just to find ways to expose people to use Google more. Like the invention of having your URL like input bar to then be a search result was actually I believe pioneered by Chrome entirely.
Yes.
And now it's like a default experience that everyone should have, but all it was really trying to do was to get more people to use Google. So that's my caveman brain is just thinking it's just a way for Perplexity to get more usage. Maybe they have some other intentions going beyond this with, who knows, capturing user session information that they couldn't otherwise, maybe cookie information across different web pages to then surface better ads in the long term. Who knows? I'm sure Chrome is now a very robust strategy and system for Google as well.
You could try it out if you have a free Perplexity. You don't even have to really have a Perplexity Pro account, right? You could just try it.
I think so. Now that you say that, I guess I didn't need to sign up. You have access to it. Yeah.
I don't remember. I have Perplexity Pro, but only for testing purposes. But I imagine it's free for the listeners here.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, if anyone needs I think it's still invite only. We have a lot of invites going around because they've just been distributing this. So if anyone needs some invites, I'll drop some. I think I have a decent number here. We have one more question, which is, I think, directed to you, Josh, which is, what's the first advice or action to do if a brand asks, how can we get, how can we improve our LLM visibility?
I'm gonna give like I'll give the most simplified answer. This is the 1-minute masterclass to AEO. All right, ready?
Let's
take the core questions that when someone asks ChatGPT a question about your business, think about the questions in your heart and in your soul where you think, we need to be showing up when someone asks X. We just need to. Like if someone asks, what's the best running shoe? I love, I don't know why I go back to running shoes, but whatever. Someone asks, what's the best running shoe? Nike execs are sitting in a boardroom saying, we need to show up for that. What is that for your business? Think about those questions. Create comparative listicle content. And right now, comparative listicle content is the most cited. This is a short to medium term thing. I think this is a strategy that eventually will erode over time. But right now, comparative listicle content by far outshines everything else right now in AI search. So take those questions, create comparative listicle content directly answering that question. What's the best men's running shoe, for instance? If you're Nike, you'll create, and it is kind of gutsy to do it. It's not easy to do what I'm about to tell you to do. Create a page where you, with semantic chunks, like literally in nice bulleted tables, in bulleted lists or tables, you directly compare Nike shoes slightly favorably, but you obviously do a full-throated comparison of the key competitors against your own product in a table, comprehensively, adding in tons of data, making it high value. You still need high value content. It still needs to be EAT, traditional SEO, like both thumbs up. Like you're not out here trying to like SEO spam your way to success in AI search. You still need to create great content, but compare yourself against your competitors. Do it with structured data. Do it with schema. Put 2025 in the title tag, the URL, the meta description, and do it for the key questions which people are asking. Directly answer the question in the results and directly answer those questions in unique pieces of content if you want to. That's the 1-minute masterclass. Genuinely, that piece of advice will work for 70% of all brands and will massively help their AI search. The question is, will they do it? That it is a hard thing to do to directly compare yourself to your competitors, but the answer engines are pushing everyone in the world right now towards what I call the marketplace of answers. That's like the little buzzwordy trend I keep calling it.
And so, Josh, it sounds like it's really just about putting out more content of specific quality targeted specifically for these questions. How does the role of like AI blogs or completely LLM generated content play into this? I think there's a long debate on like, does this stuff rank well on Google? I think when it first came out, like 2 years ago. How has it played out, or how's your perspective? And like, do these brands like Nike go ahead and write most of their stuff using AI now too?
You can write most everything with AI. The key here is this. You have to look yourself in the face, in the mirror, and say, is this piece of content genuinely adding value to what I'm trying to write it towards? Because at its worst, AI content is like, it's like looking at a checkers board and just moving pieces around with no goal in sight. It's just like, there's no opinion, there's no point. It's just words. It's just characters in a list. If you're writing content that just exists to fill a web page, you're going to have a bad day if you write that. If you have, I don't know, if you have James Cameron write that as a screenplay, if you have him write just random characters about men's running shoes versus if you have AI write it, you're still not going to rank. The key is having genuine, real value-added content. So the thing that I tell people to do is this. When you're creating content with AI, do the manual work of adding in real statistics, real metrics, real opinions that you actually have. Spend it, like for each piece of content, spend 30 minutes, spend an hour researching it, developing at least a slight perspective. Let the LLM take that perspective and create the cohesive piece, wire it together, string it through. The important piece is that it does come from a place of actual opinionation, that you're actually trying to add value to a conversation. As long as you're doing that, it doesn't matter what brand you are. It doesn't matter how you compare it. It doesn't matter what words you use. You just want to create things that are still high value. That's my perspective. I've seen great AI content. I've seen incredible value add from things that are written by Jasper, things that are written by ChatGPT. I've seen incredible rankings from those pieces of content as well. And I've seen terrible content from people who insist on using human writers. So I think that spectrum is quite wide.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have a question to call out from Idan, which is that you mentioned, including the year 2025, that to the content and semantic URLs,
Yes.
if possible. What happens after a year?
Yeah, we have a very ugly, terrible redirect chain. It's not optimal for
Yeah.
SEO to do this, by the way. So this is one of those few strategies that this is an AEO purist move to throw 2025 into the URL. It will work for AEO. You will get picked up by the answer engine. But to do it in every single year, you have to commit to two things. One, a 301 redirect for the next year, or you create the 2026 piece of content based on the same thing. But you don't want to have crucially, you don't really want to have a sprawling site. So my recommendation is to redirect it. This is obvious, to me, this is obviously something very, very oriented towards your direct AEO players, people who, I work with companies that don't do any SEO. They only do AEO on the most extreme end. They're happy to do that stuff. They don't really care about the SEO space. If you're still concerned about your SEO, which many are, I wouldn't fault you at all for that. I think the majority of search is still SEO guys. So you think twice about it. I would inject it in the title tag or the meta description instead if you have to make compromises. It's quite good still. It's not like you're going to lose that much.
Yeah, makes a ton of sense. This is a good pass on to the great folks at Profound. Is there a benchmark that we can use to determine good standing and KPIs, visibility scores, or citation share?
My favorite benchmark is the citation share. Citation share relates much more closely to referral traffic than your visibility score.
Yep.
Visibility score is great, but it really ends up being a derivative of citation share. We like to get as close to the value driving metrics as possible at Profound. So my recommendation for anyone tracking this stuff is to track your share of citations within answer engine search. We see right around a 70% correlation with your citation share and your referral traffic.
Makes a ton of sense. Going back a little bit into questions, is as Google AI Overview and AI Search gets better, do you really believe they won't stay as the by far most used search provider? Do you think companies other than OpenAI can realistically disrupt the future search industry?
It depends. Okay, this is like futurism predictions. I don't think I would ever say that. I don't think Google is going to lose their position as the most used search provider. Not going to happen. There's court cases about that as well. Maybe there are things that are going to change about that. That's obviously much more closely related to the Chrome browser and other, intellectual properties. Very interesting stuff happening there. But if we're talking about the search engine space, here's what I think. I think Google is quickly learning that the user behavior around search is changing, and it's their moment to rise, or is their moment to kind of shrug and kind of be quite mid in this moment. They can rise to the occasion and they can kind of capture what the customer and what the user is really desiring out of search. Or this is a situation where they kind of flub it and they take a pretty big chunk out of the search world. But you have to think about Google. I mean, Google is international, it's massive. There's so much momentum behind what's going on there. Even if Google totally lost the AI search race, the amount of devices, the amount of things that use Google as a search engine, I don't think you could predict a future where Google is not going to be the most prominent search engine. I think the real comparison is will there be genuine direct competition to Google, maybe in the low double digits or single digits per answer engine? I could see a future if Google really flubs it with AI search, where Google owns 60 to 50% of the search world and the rest is made up by a bunch of different competitors. I think that's a far off future as well. And that's kind of the worst case scenario for Google. I could also see a world where this all consolidates back up top with that Google level experience. And it especially depends on how some of these top answer engines choose to partner up with different search engines. If Google landed a deal with OpenAI, my goodness, that would be very powerful for Google, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah. And I think there is some speculation that they're landing a deal right now. So yeah, very, very likely. I think if we're just talking about the best results if Bing as a platform is an indicator on the search result, if anything, obviously getting better results would be using. And I think I also don't see Google kind of faltering in any reasonable way. I think there was an argument to be made about 2 years ago when it seemed like they were very late to the game. But then when kind of I think they realized that and then they got their heads back into it, it was very immediately, very quickly on how much progress they can make. given their advantage and now how much money and resources they're putting behind it. I mean, like Gemini being arguably one of the best models out there. Like I personally, really like the Google AI overviews now. I think that just like anecdotally, the results are so much better than they were even a year ago.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Google is just putting all of their eggs into this basket. At least there's actually a great podcast that Sundar Pichai from did with Lex Friedman, going a lot into their strategy now, where they're just not going to slow down on this.
No.
They're seeing like Gemini usage 50x over the past like 12 months or something crazy like that. And so there's just no way. And I think, for them to mess it up now would be like, I just can't see how.
Yeah. They're definitely honing in on it. I mean, Gemini is my favorite model myself. I love the 2.5 Pro. It's so good.
Yeah. It's awesome. Do you use it for other applications other than search, or do you like see your?
I use it for work. I love it. I think it's phenomenal. It's the best. I think it's the best of all three. Best of all three. I mean, like coding, writing, and general like instruction following and task following. Like if I'm doing obviously dependent on its uptime and the rate limits, because I know like for OpenAI, when we have huge enterprise level jobs we have to do, we just go with OpenAI. It's pretty straightforward. The API is really easy to use. Everyone knows how to use it pretty effectively. But for certain things where I'm like, the quality has to be non-negotiable, I throw 2.5 on. Sometimes I throw it on with the grounding. It's quite nice.
Yeah. There you go. That's awesome. What about, sorry, go ahead, Tiff.
I wanted to interject with a question from Jason that's probably relevant to a lot of our audience who's spending time watching this webinar, keeping up with these early trends in AI search. How do you prove and justify the ROI of investing in these early optimizations for making these content changes, or even bringing on making your content more LLM optimized in LLMs, TXT, etc.? What is the justification and ROI that you all are looking at?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of different factors about that, but I think one of my favorite stats is that LLM searchers, people who are coming from LLMs onto your site, are between 3 to 5x more likely to convert. So there's the conversion rate for LLM search, the CVR, not the click-through rate, is right around 10 to 15% compared to traditional search, which is 3 to 5%, depending on your website. It could be even lower. We work with e-com all the time where it's ridiculously low. We work with B2B SaaS where it's a little bit higher for demos and things like that, depending on what you can derive as a conversion. Obviously everything is in flux. I mean, the world right now is this. People are using these answer engines to search. It is like social was in the early 2000s, where you've got this new channel, you've got unestablished rules to that channel, you've got people who are using it, and you've got brands who are in various stages of being fast to adopt and slow to adopt. But there is this opportunity to take advantage of the imbalance in adoption to start making a difference in how your specific brand is showing up, especially since it's now validated by things like Google AI overviews, Google AI mode. It's really clear that the search modality is going to be shifting here. And for any brand that wants to be ahead of that curve, even if because the attribution loop is completely shot right now. Mm-hmm. But even with that being shot, for the key prompts and the key topics that matter most to your brand, it's a must have. Because you're looking at, it's almost like marketing on TikTok back in 2018. It's like, if every brand knew what TikTok was going to become in 2018, every brand would have been on TikTok in 2018. It's a massive opportunity, right? I think it's an opportunity play. I think for incumbents, it's a defensive play. Sometimes it's an offensive play, but for disruptors, it's absolutely a huge play because again, we're seeing the opportunity to directly influence the narrative around specific industries, billion-dollar industries, in a way that search engines don't recognize the information hierarchy. The answer engines don't recognize the information hierarchy. They don't know how to swear fealty to the people that should be leading it. They just trust the people that have that utility. So it's this huge opportunity just across that whole space.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. I think I totally agree. It's there's a lot of almost arbitrage in the few people who know how to do it well. The amount of traffic that's now hitting, GEO and AEO, and all these engines that really people don't really know how to figure it out. And I think some of the best people can probably go and are quick enough to try something out and probably get some results from it is definitely going to see the gains from it.
I can speak anonymously. I mean, we've seen double-digit improvements in referral traffic and dollars from answer engine traffic just from optimizing visibility and citation share on the platform. Like, to speak very clearly about AEO, besides being very philosophical, like, oh, big movements, big change be around this space, the value of capturing AI searches is immense because the people are ready to convert. Once they see your brand, they're ready to do something. These are doers. These are people who are executing. These are people who are going to copy your brand name, go to Google and buy the shoes, buy the appliance, right? That's why these are incredibly warm leads. So it's people who are already, they've been through the whole cycle. They've had the full customer journey without you. And now it's time to capture them. And so driving that visibility, it's just basically being part of that journey at scale.
Makes a ton of sense. And I have last question just for yourself, Josh. What have you or the Profound team done to help lift Profound's results and all this stuff? I'm sure you guys are
we create a ton of content.
Yeah, it's a lot of content.
It's tons of content. It's we have an lms.txt file we use for any of the documentation that we've got, but primarily we're doing blog content. We have guides content, even like just looking on Reddit, seeding different mentions, joining the conversation there as our brand as much as we can, obviously, where it makes sense is massively helpful. Like Reddit is the #1 source for ChatGPT. Crazy, but absolutely true. Reddit citations are actually up 437% from mid-May to now, which is crazy to say. Reddit's been spiking in ChatGPT recently. Don't ask me why. It looks like someone at OpenAI literally took the dial and just turned it. So we're around on social. We're around on our site. We're constantly putting out those comparative types of blogs. We're talking about how to choose an AEO provider. We're throwing tables into our content, nice semantic chunked content, lots of bullet points, very organized. Beyond that, we're working with affiliates. So we identify the top cited articles around the AEO space, and then we get mentioned in those articles as part of our strategy, right? Like we can tell with the Profound platform, you can see who is actually being the most cited. So already, here's what the recipe is. Here's the patterns that lead to a top cited article. Here's what leads to getting different brands mentions. Here's who's trusted. Let's just bet on the winning horse. Let's jump into an affiliate piece of content that's done all the hard work. That is already super trusted, and let's just jump into position #1 there. That'd be great.
Yeah. What's an example of going by the affiliate approach? Like, what's a particular affiliate that you guys have worked well with?
Oh my goodness. I know we've worked pretty well. I mean, we have a few influencers like Siege Media is great. We worked with them briefly just to get a piece of content out with them. We collaborated there. I think there's a few other. We worked with like Search Engine Land. Search Engine Journal. I mean, for us, it's very industry dependent. I wouldn't say like the surprising thing is like around affiliates, Forbes is probably the most universal for any brand. But beyond that, the thing that we're seeing in AI search is that the affiliates actually are super niche. And so I call this citation arbitrage, which is basically the idea that like within fast food, I used to love this example. The #1 cited domain in fast food was like some random guy's blog about hamburgers. Why? He wasn't important. He didn't matter. The only reason was because he offered like these ridiculously detailed reviews of like, I reviewed the like new Burger King Whopper, like vintage 2019. Here's exactly everything. I measured the weight of the patty. I measured this. I measured the acidity of the mayo. I measured this. It was like graphs and charts and details and paragraphs. And the answer engines were like, we have no idea who you are, where you came from, but you are good at answering questions about burgers. So we like you. And Google was like, I don't know who you are. I'm not going to rank you. I don't know what this is. But the answer engines liked it. And so for each industry, the affiliates are very different. I would suggest if you don't have Profound, if you're not doing AEO platform level research, which is a shame, but it's totally fine. Do it on your own. Start a spreadsheet. Start tracking the sources that are influencing the questions that you're curious about. Do that at scale. Test it a few times every day. Do it in ChatGPT. Write it down. Try it out. It's still exceptionally helpful, even at a limited sample size.
Awesome.
Are there any final round robin advice? We've talked a lot about visibility, but on the front of once you are showing up in results, Is there any tips and tricks in terms of accuracy and people who are turning for asking specific questions about your brand, making sure that those answers are correct? I would imagine this might be applicable to a lot of our audience that is interested in documentation as well of,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
is about your product correct? Are you being represented accurately? So curious if there's any tips and tricks and things either of you have been noticing.
Accuracy is a function of the content that you have out on your website, right?
Yeah.
The LLMs.txt file is like this really interesting protocol that basically enables your metadata to really sing. Like that's what I kind of tell people. It's like you have this meta description. It's 200 characters, 160 characters or less. You have the FAQ schema, and that's cute to have, and that's wonderful. We love having that. But there is this new opportunity to store documentation. There's this new opportunity to store information about your brand, to highlight things about your company, your products, your services, the hierarchies between them, how they're offered, pricing details, everything that you might have an answer engine miss, especially if your pages are JavaScript rendered, super client-side rendered, or your CMS isn't precisely where you want it yet. And that's through an LLMs.txt or an LLMs-full.txt, which is really interesting. I'm curious to get your perspective as well, Han.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, it's about the content of the quality of the content. And I think it's always been true that, like bad docs are oftentimes worse than no docs. But I think it's especially true nowadays where like the actual source of information and the reliability of the content is like about 10x more important because there's downstream effects, right? It's not just someone goes to your docs, assumes that they're probably wrong because, it's docs and a lot of people don't like updating it. But if it makes it to the engines where people do trust it, then you're just legitimately spreading misinformation. And so I think it always ties back for us, and people ask us like, okay, like how do I, build LLMs better, more ingestible content that's better for the brand, or how do I build stuff that's just, more SEO, AEO friendly? And I'm like, well, it's the same answer as you're gonna get anywhere else, which is just write better content, make better docs. I guess I don't know how else to tell you. No amount of protocols with LLMs.txt or SEO like AEO friendly features or whatever that means is going to compensate for just bad content. And I think that's always been our advice. I think the things like the protocols, LLMs.txt, LLMs full, they help a lot. They assist a lot. To the point they make it sing. But again, you still need the lyrics, you still need the the chorus, and still need a lot of the melodies to make it happen. And so I think that's just kind of emphasizing to us about the importance of the source of truth and the accuracy of the data more than anything else. And don't get me wrong, like, we certainly have ways to go in even making our own docs better. I sometimes see wrong answers on about us on ChatGPT all the time, but to me, it's always about, okay, thinking about that. Okay, where are they coming from? How do I go update those? I think would make all the difference.
That's great.
Yeah.
Great.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
It was so lovely to hear this discussion between you two. I feel like we could probably talk about AI search for much, much longer time, but thank you to everyone in our audience for joining us as well. We hope that this was informative for you, and we will be sure to, Mintlify and Profound are both thinking about these problem spaces very often. So we'll be sure to be sharing out more content and best practices and resources in the future as well. So stay tuned for more from our teams.
Yeah. And thanks so much, Josh. And guys, try Profound. Great product. We use them ourselves. They help a lot in helping people navigate this. And they really got some folks who are, of course, like Josh included, who think a lot about this and have some great advice to share. So definitely make sure to check them out.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Thanks, everyone. All right. Bye.